Hello, everyone. Excuse me. We are in week 3 of global marketing and strategic networking. This week we got into a new reading as well as the previous two from the previous quarter week. But this week we got into the praise of slowness. So just jumping into it. For me, I feel like the theme and the goal of the author, the theme first was patience is what I took from it. Just really slowing down and enjoying the moment. More of the stop and smell the roses theme. And I feel like the goal again was to get people to slow down and challenge the speed, or not the speed, but at least the idea that we have, the idea that we need to be fast. So just to challenge the idea of the speed of life. I felt, especially from the slowness of praise, I keep turning away, I'm sorry, that the intent was to express the impacts of living life at a high pace. I believe at some point in the chapter it stated, when you accelerate things that should not be accelerated, you forget to slow down. And with that, there is a price to pay. So I feel like the intent here was to show the negative impacts of going, and impacting, or I'm sorry, and like I said, impacting more things into a smaller amount of time than we really have time for. And so that's what I just gave was just on page 4 and 5 in the slowness of, or the praise of slowness. What stood out to me, which is really funny because I rarely ever read the introductions of books. Was the introduction, The Age of Rage. It spoke more about how we are now seeing more people in their 20s being burnt out, when in the past it used to not hit into your mid 40s or 50s. And that is something I have also seen, just being in the same place of business for the past 13 years. We do see more supervisors my age or younger who just have to stop and take a step back or have to take a mental break because they have pushed themselves too hard. I did write another quote, but this kind of goes into my key terms because there's really no terms as far as from the slowness of praise. Um, but it says when we rush, we skim the surface and fail to make real connections in the world or with others. And I also feel like that's why this fits into this course, is because the whole point of global marketing and strategic networking is to show us how to build those connections so that we can become better global marketers. And so I feel like the theme and intent of all three of the books so far has been space and time, and how those are related globally so that we can be more understanding of that and help us to reach people all over the world and connect with them. One thing I found interesting was in the book it did mention Psalms 46, where it be still and know that I am God. And so even in the Bible, it tries to teach us and show us that we're not meant to take life at a fast pace. We are meant to slow down, and embrace things, and really just you want to be able to connect with God if you're going all the time. So I think that's another good point of this chapter. Something that stood out from, I believe this was in the Hidden Dimensions, where it talked about eye behavior, um, and how the Englishmen and the French, or Englishmen and Americans, how eye contact can like mean different things depending on who you are. So in the for the Englishmen, it's strict eye contact, strict paying attention. However, in America, we only are doing, really looking at someone straight in the eye when we really, really want their attention and it's serious. Usually, if it's just in conversation, we're engaging, we're maybe looking from eye to eye, as I mentioned. Not necessarily doing other things, but not necessarily very focused and engaged as they may be in other cultures. And then something that stood out from the geography of time was when they spoke about Japan's contradiction. So if you made it through the end of the chapter, you realized that the contradiction was that the Japan culture is very, very quick, very fast paced. So I work for a Japanese company, and not that here in America we're very fast paced, but things do go very fast paced, just with that culture. Um, but the contradiction was that they don't apologize for speed, but they are not tyrannized by the clock, meaning they're not bound to the clock. They're not designated to the clock. It doesn't determine how they work and how they operate. They just happen to be fast-paced people. But really good readings this week. I really enjoyed the Praise of Slowness. I think that's going to be a really good read for everyone. Let's see if I missed anything. Oh, I did put a few key terms from the Praise of Slowness, and it was mentioning how the clock calls the shots from the moment that you wake up. So it's not really a term. There are really no terms. But how the clock calls the shots from the moment you wake up. And if it's late and you wake up, the first thing you're doing is going to the bathroom. Or like usually the first thing we're doing is checking to see what time it is so that we can determine what we need to do next. So I'm almost at 7 minutes, so I will leave you with the question, which is, this was also mentioned in one of our readings today. What are some ways you use technology to gain more time, or just some ways technology has improved time? One example I can think of is email. That just has increased the email and IMs, have increased the text messages as well. The speed of communication is like just outside of sending a letter or something like that. Now it's just instantaneous communication, and we have smartphones, so we have access to it everywhere. All right, I'm now almost at 8 minutes, so I'll leave you with that. Everyone have a great day. Thank you.